happen to someone else, but it is widespread and your friend or family member could be suffering. Mental illnesses can be described as brain-based conditions that affect thinking, emotions, and behaviors. These include mood, anxiety, and personality disorders. Today on Access Health GY, you'll learn signs to look out for. I'm joined by Ms. Bibi Ahmad. She is the Managing Director of Caribbean Voice, a New York registered and locally registered NGO that has been working to improve the physical and mental well-being of Caribbean people. Ms. Ahmad, thank you for being on the program. First, based on the work your organization has been doing, what would you say are some of the common forms of mental health disorders affecting people in Guyana?
Primarily, it's depression and anxiety. There are some, most of that came to us, but is anxiety and depression, but there are one, two others that are bipolar and so forth. I cannot really go into that detail because of our professional ethics code that discuss what exactly are the issues. But people who are suicidal or so forth, what we do at Caribbean Voice, we say to anyone, if you need help, reach out to us. We not only deal with suicide prevention, we also deal with all forms of abuse. Either drug and alcohol abuse, sexual abuse, domestic abuse, any form of abuse, or a batch of online counselors or counselors here in Guyana will try to help you.
So, reaching out to these people on the ground, what has been the common sign among most of them? Can you say in terms of indicators to detect that this person would be at a particular level and really in need of assistance?
Well, you have to do an assessment of the person and without breaking any confidentiality, you know, our coping skills, how we cope. Everybody cope at a different pace. Everybody handles the situation differently. Whatever issue you might have, you cope it differently. What you might be able to cope with, I might not be able to cope with. So our coping skills, they vary from one stage to another. That's primarily one of the biggest issues. And primarily the younger persons out there, call them the youth, their coping skills today compared to the youth of my era, let's put it that way, is variable. You know, there are changes. Behavioral patterns are different.
I think one of the problems in general that people find is finding someone who they can talk to when they're experiencing these problems. Would you say that it is okay to discuss these issues with anyone, or should you really reach out to someone who is a professional in the area?
Both can be applicable. You need to reach out to the professionals. You know, the professional will be able to assess the situation, what's happening with you, your emotional state of mind in depth. But if you don't have access to a professional at that time, you know, whoever is there to, you know, be supportive for you would work for a short period of time, but that would not heal you. That would help you at the present situation, but for the long term, you must have the professional. Unfortunately, here in Guyana, we don't have so many qualified professionals in mental health. We're getting it, we take, I call it baby steps. We have baby steps where that is concerned. So we're getting there. But one of the things people can do, that if they're the emotional state of mind, the emotional in terms of mental health, they're feeling suicidal or so forth, there is the helplines that they can call, and it's a toll-free number. Unfortunately, I can't remember it offhand. I have it on speed dial on my phone. Anybody calls me, I can give it to them. But you can call the helplines. It's toll-free. You call with your mobile, you can call with a landline. You don't have to pay anything, and they will assess your situation and get help. And there are many other, there are NGOs that you can call. I also tell people, you have your health center within your communities. You can go to your health center and talk to nurses are trained professionals. You have doctor, you know, talk to somebody. You know, you don't have to tell them your entire what's happening to you till you need help. And I'm almost certain you can get help if, let's say, okay, or most of our health facilities work the normal working hours, and something like that happens to you over the weekend. You have your community leaders. You have the religious leaders within your community. But the problem here, at what I personally have experienced, is the stigma and the judgmental part. we judge, and mental health people have this mindset or the misconception that people with mental health problem are crazy. No, they're not crazy. It's not crazy that there's a quote, and say, I quote this as people say they're mad people. That's a stigma. You have a mental health problem, it stems from something, and we have to be non-judgmental.
I think that's one of the main problems in Guyana, and the reason why people are so afraid to reach out. And only recently, one of our own local sport journalists, Raul Tony, he would have spoken out about some of the issues he's been battling, and that has shocked many people because, you look at somebody, they're famous, they're rich and so on, or well-established, and you don't assume that they have problems, but we all go through something. So we're going to take a quick look at that video with Raul Tony, and we'll have Miss Ahmad respond to that.
If you don't know, so over the years I've had constant battles with, I've been battling constantly with depression, with anxiety, with random outbursts based on how I feel about things. And I should say this morning, it was late, it reached a tipping point based on everything that's been going on. The last couple of months has been brutal for me, and I really didn't know how to cope with it. Really didn't know how to deal with it. And so here's the thing: a lot of persons I realize are just like me, or would have went through the same thing like me, whereas they're afraid as men, especially if you are quote unquote seen as somebody in society, more or less, for want of a better term. You're afraid of what people might think of you. You're afraid of how people might perceive things to be. Afraid of being judged. Afraid of looking weak. Afraid of coming out and telling people like, yo, this is my truth. I am battling with depression. This is the reason why, or this is the reason why I've been feeling a certain way. People